Today's episode of WTF is sponsored by Audible. Go to audiblepodcast.com/WTFpod to get a free audiobook download. Do it.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucking ears, what the fuck nicks, what the fuckadelics, and what the fuckaholics? It is the new year. 3 days in. It's going okay. Happy? I don't know, but it's going okay. I'm not complaining. We made it another year. How is everyone? I am Marc Maron. This is WTF. I'm thrilled to have Michael Keaton in conversation here with me today, and I've got a pretty interesting story in terms of how this show works, about how WTF works, how the booking works, and what really happens here. But before I get into that, let me just say that the Out of the Garage tour, all the dates are up for pre-sale throughout today, that being 1/3, January 3rd, up till 10 p.m., with the password bazooka. You can go to Ticketmaster.com or LiveNation.com. Look me up there and see if I'm going to be near you and pick up a ticket with that code. The pre-sale for San Francisco is January 9th at 10 a.m. Through the 10th at 10 p.m. And also, quickly, tomorrow night, 4th through the 6th, I'll be at the Improv in Fort Lauderdale at the Hard Rock. Come down, hang out with me and my mommy. All right, well, look. The Michael Keaton thing is a very interesting thing because, you know, everybody loves Michael Keaton. We don't get to hear from Michael Keaton that often. He was the best Batman. He was really the biggest comedy star when I was younger. And also, and he's one of the few guys that was hilarious but was also able to do, you know, dramatic roles. And the way that the interview came about was interesting because it was sort of a year in the making. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's do this, can we? Our new sponsor, folks, is Ting. What is Ting? Ting is a mobile service that makes sense, people. Ting is truly and completely contract-free, no early termination fees or other BS. There are no overage charges. You just pay for what you use. That's it. No add-on charges either. Voicemail, caller ID, hotspot, three-way calling, and other features are all part of the Ting service. No hidden charges, no recovery fees, and they have a no-hold customer support. You just call their support number, and a real person will pick up the phone. It's they have excellent online support as well. So if you want this, which you should, go to WTFpod.ting.com and get a $25 service credit or $25 off any phone just for being a WTF listener. That's WTFpod.ting.com. New sponsor. Exciting stuff. All right, Michael Keaton. I'm gonna walk you through this because I'm ecstatic that we hung out. He's a great guy, and it was just it's very interesting. Oh, here's what happens. So a year ago, last January, 2012, I go to Florida to visit my mother and go on vacation. That's what I'm doing. All right. I'm with Jessica. We're at the Fort Lauderdale airport. We had just landed in Florida. We're at the baggage claim. I see a dude with his family. Looks like it might be Michael Keaton, but I have grown to learn. I really don't approach people. It doesn't feel right sometimes. And I just kind of hung out. And I was like, wow, that's who he is now. That's how he looks. That's Michael Keaton. Looks pretty good. And I'm thinking to myself, and I say to Jessica, is that Michael Keaton? She's like, oh, yeah, it is. I'm like, okay, all right, let's keep it together. So I don't approach him, and I just stand there at the baggage claim, and I look at him, and he looks at me for a quick second, and he comes up to me and goes, I know you, right? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm a comedian. He's like, yeah, I saw you on Real Time with Bill Maher. I'm like, oh, he's like, you're great. And I'm like, wow, thank you very much. So now I'm in that situation where I'm like, I got a podcast, you know. So I said, well, I actually do a podcast. I told him that, and I said, would you be interested in maybe doing it? But before that, I said, where are you going? He was going scuba diving and fishing, whatever he was going to do. We had some small talk, and I asked him if he wanted to do the podcast. He goes, yeah. And I go, how do I get in touch with you? That's always the awkward part. It's like, because these are big celebrities, and I don't want to irritate them. And I want them to trust me with their emails. I'm like, how do I get in touch with you? And then he tells me his email. And then he wanders off with his family. He's like, okay. So now I got to remember this email. And I'm like, I got to write it down. So I write it down. All right, so this is, somewhere in the first week of January 2012. And I'm like, Michael Keaton, there was that mixture of like, he knew me, he recognized me, hey, and I can't believe maybe we can get him on the podcast. On January 6th, I'm assuming I probably like when you date somebody or when you meet somebody, you don't want to call too fast. I imagine I maybe waited 3 hours. I wrote him an email. It said, Michael, hope you had a good vacation. Mine was fine. I said I shouldn't have spent the last few days at my mother's. It negated the whole purpose. Just wanted to gauge your interest in doing a WTF interview. Let me know if you want to try to schedule one and when would be a good time. Good meeting you. Thanks, Maron. Now, you got to understand, this is how I book the show. I have a part-time assistant, Sam, who helps me out. But, my booking process is really, I know a guy who knows a guy, and some publicists now, contact me. But it's really me reaching out. There are other shows, like Carolla's got a booking infrastructure. Hardwick's got bookers. They do more shows than me, daily shows 3 times a week, whatever. But I'm still doing this. But this one was interesting because it took a year. It took a year. So after I wrote him that email, Michael, he writes back, interested, working on a movie in Canada. We'll be here a while, back in L.A. briefly, then gone for a bit again. Stay in touch and let's figure a time. Where do you do the show? I don't always live in L.A. Good to meet you, MK. That was the same day I sent him the email. And then for some reason, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I don't get back to him till February 19th. So that's over a month later. Hey, man, Maron here, checking back in. You around anytime soon? Thanks. Mr. Mom is on TV right now. And then the same day he goes, yep, let's talk this week. And then on the same day, this is February 19th, 2012, how's Wednesday? Sometime between 10 and 2. And then on the same date, February 19th, Michael writes, by the way, I was somewhere and a TV was on but no volume and you were doing stand-up. Still looked pretty funny. What was it? Can I see some of that and anything else you want me to see as a frame of reference? If you feel it's relevant, your call. And then we go back. It's just crazy because, there are these flurries of activity. So the next day I'm like, I have an appointment at 4:30 tomorrow. I can't cancel it. I'll keep trying. I'll hit you back in March. And that was 2/21/12. So I'm watching Batman, the new one, whatever it was, the newest one with Christian Bale. And I'm like, fuck. Jessica says, did you ever get back in touch with Michael Keaton? I'm like, no. So I go back. This is on the 27th of December, just a few days ago. And I write to Michael Keaton, hey, man, happy holidays. I'd still like to talk to you at some point. Can that happen? Thanks, Marc Maron. And then the next day he writes back, okay, this is weird. Just thinking about this yesterday. Swear. Let me see if I'm doing anything for the next couple of days. Was pondering going up north to visit a friend. And right after that, I write, okay, man, I'll be on call here. I'm around. I can work around you if you want to do it. Thanks, Maron. And then I get a weird one from him. It just says, remind me to do this. So then I write back, when were you thinking? And then he writes back, that was supposed to go right to my assistant, but this is better. How about tomorrow? And I write back, great. What time? I'm in Highland Park. The talk should run about an hour or so. And then he writes back, nothing. And then the next day comes when we're supposed to do the show. I'm like, we doing this or no? And then he writes back, yes, H Park near Pasadena. Do you do it at your house studio? Keep today open. Let me know. And I write back, yes. And I give him my address, house 330. And then he writes back, probably later, waiting to hear back from someone. So this is the day of this thing that's supposed to happen. I'm just hanging out and I'm like, oh God, is this going to happen? And then bam, like later that afternoon on the 29th, he's like, I'm headed to you in 10 minutes coming from Santa Monica. You're near Pasadena. And then he shows up and he just comes in. He's got that intensity where, he's Michael Keaton. He's looking at my shit and we just go right into it. And we just go right into the conversation you're about to hear. And then a couple days later, the next day after we talked, I said, hey, man, thanks for doing it. And then I wanted to put this in here because he wanted me to, but I didn't really want to fuck with the conversation too much. He goes, thanks, enjoyed it. Just realized old Irish guys took the pledge, not the oath, when they stopped drinking. Important difference. And I said, I can clarify that in the intro, which I'm doing right now, or we can take it out if you want. And he wrote back, either way, both. And that's where we're at. To me, it was just a great example of the intensity. Sometimes things just have to happen now. I'm coming over now. And I love interviews like that. There have been a couple in the course of the show that have been like that. But before we do that, I can get you a free audiobook download. If you go to audiblepodcast.com/WTFpod, you get a free download on me. There's over 100,000 audio products. The offer is only good in the U.S. and Canada. I just went to Audible because of Michael Keaton here. I did a search on Batman, and there's a bunch of stuff there. Batman and Psychology, A Dark and Stormy Night, Batman, The Lazarus Syndrome, Batman and Philosophy, The Dark Night of the Soul, Batman's Helpers, a Matthew Scudder story. Don't know what that is. Batman, Nightfall. Yeah, it's all here. Just what I'm saying is you can choose whatever you want from 100,000 audio products. Go to audiblepodcast.com/WTFpod for that free download. Only good in U.S. and Canada. Now let's talk to the best and the original movie Batman, Michael Keaton.
So are you as bad as I am about having a whole bunch of books around that you go, yeah, I got to get to that book?
Oh, fuck yeah, man.
It's terrible.
I mean, it's just, they're just comforting. I don't know. Yeah, I can't read all that, but I like knowing they're there.
Me too, and I love books, and I love, I'm a reader, but what happens is you get way, way, way behind. Actually, what I did, I've moved them to another room because I get anxious and I get guilty and I think, oh man,
they're just yelling at you.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Wait, are we doing?
Yeah. And then they get hostile. Hey, fuck you.
I got a whole shelf full of fuck you over there. There are political books. Years ago I was the morning guy on Air America. So I used to get all these political books.
Yeah.
And at that time, I'm like, the answers are in here. All the Bush stuff, everything is in here. And I can't tell you, that was 2004. And now I have all those books, and they're useless. They're fucking... They don't even last. They're not. You bring them to a used place. You're like, you want these books? They're like, I know Bush has been gone 4 years. I don't think anyone gives a fuck about this shit.
I like that you thought the answers are in here.
That's why I have them. They've got to be in there, right? There's some pretty important thinkers on these shelves.
So when people get them now, they go, no. We don't even like anybody anymore.
Yeah, no. But like, I got, there's philosophers over there. There's film books. There's all kinds of shit in here.
Yeah. What if you came in one day and I was just sitting in here reading shit?
I would be like, wow, he really doesn't know how to get home, does he? He hadn't left. No, I like it. Sometimes I lend people books, but recently, I don't know about you. I don't know what size of life you're living, but like, I sometimes fantasize it being empty and like just the peace of that, but I have not been able to, like, there is shit I can let go of here. Mm-hmm. Don't you have shit like books like that?
Oh, yeah.
It would be a burden off your back.
How about this? How about when you look at a book and you go, what the fuck was I thinking? Because it has nothing to do with anything, but that day, for like that 10 minutes, you thought, oh, I gotta have that thing.
Oh, yeah. It's all the answers are in there. This is everything I need.
All the answers.
This is like any book that I buy with that much excitement.
Yeah.
Like someone told me to buy, I don't know where the hell it is. Like a smart guy told me to buy this novel, this Russian novel by this second, it's an important Russian novel. It's like 500 pages. He's like, oh, this is great. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get that. And I'm like, he doesn't realize that I can't get through 2 pages of this. I can't, I'm not even.
Well, are you, but you're clearly a really curious person. So
yeah,
you, it's not like you can't. You've probably got, I don't know, I guess this is a question. Are you somebody who goes, I really want to do this, but my brain is jumping over into so many areas right now that I got to find the spot to go,
I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. Because once you get lost in books, there's really nothing better than that.
It's great. But that's what I've sort of let myself off the hook. Like if I read the first 10 pages.
I'm not going to let you off the hook, by the way.
Come on, man.
No,
I didn't know this was going to be hard. You're going to break me over the coals here. No, if I lock in, I'm in, and I'll read it.
Yes.
But sometimes, you try, and and you just, it ain't going to happen. What are you going to do? We're not in college. Are you going to sit there and underline and force yourself?
And it's getting worse because there's so many distractions now, I'm looking at that, you have the original Alcoholics Anonymous book, right? That's
that's a big book.
It's an amazing, when you think about it, I mean, that's an amazing thing he did.
It's unbelievable. And I'm a sober guy though, so I mean,
right.
I know that shit. But like when people talk about it, they don't realize the philosophy of it and the practicality of it is fucking mind blowing.
And how did he hit it? Because you go, it's kind of like baseball. You think about baseball and you think, well, it's really changed so little. There's almost no changes.
They won't let them. Are you kidding? If anyone was to change that book, you'd have a bunch of very pious, angry alcoholics. Like, oh, dare! It's like the Constitution. It would take some serious meetings and amendments.
Yeah, but he kind of hit it. I don't know. Were there like 100 drafts? I don't think so. I think the guy went, no, I think this is it. And it's not like a new one came out and said, well, I want to adjust to. It's like the the Bill of Rights or the Constitution. It's
right.
Like, people go, no, you can't, which I really don't understand, frankly. I go, well,
things change.
Things change.
Right.
We don't live in this world anymore. It's not the end of the world if you go, let's slide this a little, or let's just say, we didn't know there were going to be these kind of weapons.
Right, yeah. And maybe women should be able to vote. I mean, we're at that point now where
that's not really that much.
I don't think everyone needs a semi-automatic weapon. Maybe I'm wrong, but machine guns aren't practical for some people, apparently. Maybe we can put something in there that says that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem crazy to me.
People can have guns, not just bazookas and semi-automatics.
Yeah.
Well, with Alcoholics Anonymous, they even got the newer edition took out. There's the original first, I think, 164 pages or something, and then there are the stories afterwards. But they don't fuck with the original text.
Right.
But they've added some stories.
Yeah.
And they've taken one or two out, and that was sort of a big deal. Did you read it when you did Clean and Sober?
Yeah, that's how I got to know it. And as I was reading it, I thought, and for a while, I kept it around because I thought, this is crazy. This works for everybody. I don't care if you're drinking or not drinking or doing dope or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
This is so practical and logical that I was kind of knocked out by it.
Yeah. Well, the inventory thing is pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pissed off at this guy for this reason. It affects this part of my life, and my part of it is this. If you do that thing, and he pulled that from just a stock inventory. If you do that thing, you can really get a pretty thorough diagram of exactly what kind of asshole you are.
Yeah.
Or what your character defects are. I mean, I've got almost 13 years, so I mean, I'm not in it every day, but it's definitely a life changer.
Yeah.
But when you did that movie, I remember seeing that movie. I mean, that was a fucking heavy movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you really fucking got in it. I haven't seen a movie since then that really captures that experience.
Yeah.
Waking up with a dead girl and having to change your life.
Yeah. That's a great opening, by the way.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
And not unusual, really. Similar stories.
Yeah.
Where things just got out of control. I mean, that was one of your first real serious parts, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had done, let me think, because I had done some things actually on television earlier on before, and then everything just kind of sat there for a while and nothing really happened.
Yeah.
But I would say, that was anything of note. That was it. I mean,
right after Beetlejuice, you did it.
Yeah, I guess. I can't remember.
Yeah? Is it all getting foggy?
Yeah, most. But I mean, I can sit down and if you give me a minute, I'll figure it out. But I wasn't thinking about it. Yeah, I would say that's probably when it was. But it was a really, really great experience because you don't have a choice but to, I don't think, you just you gotta go all the way down there, or in there or whatever it is. And it was really a great experience, actually. It was really, fully committed.
To understand the plight of someone out, addicted.
Yeah, and the first thing that hit me was, some things you do research for, and some things you don't do research for, or some things you do a little research. Nothing. I don't think there's any one way to do anything necessarily. But the thing that hit me immediately was, I think almost everyone has at least a version of an addiction, or something,
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And I just, honestly, the thing that hit me was I just got lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a stroke of luck, I mean, if you go back into my family, it's in areas of my family, and there's no reason why. It's just like a stroke of luck, I guess.
The genetic dice rolled in your favor.
Totally. Has nothing to, and also the most interesting, charming, funny people. I mean, kidding me, right?
Who, drunks?
Oh, yeah, drunks and dopers and but mostly drunks. Drunks for some reason, guys who.
Yeah, the dopers might steal your money, but it's still a good story.
Yeah. And tremendous liars.
Oh yeah, the best.
The best liars.
Just spin the yarn, man. Yeah. Do you had uncles and shit or what?
Yeah, many. In fact, I just got when I was home.
Yeah.
My dad was. He was Scottish and something else maybe, or Scottish, and my mom was Irish and maybe a little English. So we got all that coming our way. But I was just looking at this book. I was home for the holidays back in Pittsburgh, where I'm from, and my brother laid this book, a little tiny paperback, which is the history of where my mother grew up, and right outside of Pittsburgh, and almost in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And where we spent a lot of our time. We'd go down there and get the Sunday paper on Saturday night, or my mom would shop down there, or, my brothers went to grade school for a while down there, and it was amazing to see this stuff. And the thing that always stands out for me is there was an old hotel there. It was very tough. It was always, it was an immigrant city.
Yeah.
It was a railroad and mill town, and my mom grew up on this hill like this, like almost about a 45 degree.
Just those like large kind of brownstone-y.
Yeah, just stacked next to one another.
Yeah.
And a bunch of kids, and there's a picture of the Commonwealth Hotel where my grandfather, her dad, who was a rager, took the oath. In Ireland, you take the oath. Well, in America, you take the oath, I guess.
Which oath?
The oath saying, that's it, I'm off, I ain't drinking anymore. And it has to do with the Catholic Church. So it's like that's so deep in that culture.
I didn't even know about this.
Oh yeah, you take the oath, and the oath is you say to God, I'm done for good this time, and then you break it like 7 or 8 times. With the drink. I'm done with the drink. It's a classic Irish thing where because it's connected to the church and it's deep, and that way they got you because they say, okay, fucker, you didn't say it to me, you said it to God. Right. Now you're in,
right?
And it took. I mean, he was apparently a bad drunk,
just an abusive ass.
Yes, he was loud, but also like we're talking like this wonderful guy too, really charming.
You remember him?
No, not at all. He was fortunately, but he so you got all that stuff going back.
And so your mother had a first-hand experience of it, anyways.
Yeah, and she never drank at all, and so thank God.
That's the interesting thing about the children of alcoholics. Either they don't touch it and they become very sort of like controlling a little bit, like managing type of personalities, because you're dealing with this parent in the house. They're like, what can I do? Can't do anything.
Can't do anything. Right.
How many brothers and sisters?
Do I have?
Yeah.
6.
So big. That was
big. Yeah. There were 9 actually, but my mom lost 2. So yeah, there were 7. I'm the youngest.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've always wondered about people who are the youngest, like, because that means like the age difference between you and your oldest sibling is like what?
Let me think. 20 years maybe. So
did you have to sort of watch everyone kind of move on?
Well, you're the first one who's ever asked this. This is really interesting that you asked this, because it hit me, at about age, I don't know what. I went, oh, I get it. They're all going to be gone. I did the math real quick on, oh, fuck. But yes, that's what you do. But we're all close. We all stayed really, really close. It's kind of shocking. Yeah.
So there wasn't it must have been a little heartbreaking to watch another brother or sister kind of, all right.
Yeah. That was, especially me, I'm like, I take stuff hard. Yeah. But I think it builds up a kind of, you get a little tough because, I did. They would get older, but they were always kind of around. Everybody would circulate back, and then they'd go have like 19 kids.
So how Catholic was your family?
My mom was Catholic and very, very Catholic, Mass every morning.
Were you an altar boy?
Yeah, I was an altar boy. I liked being an altar boy.
Yeah.
I liked actually my Catholic upbringing. I think it was really good for me.
In what way?
But my dad was not, which was really cool. And this was the thing I think that set me that this was my out, my great out, because we went to very kind of traditional, tough, and when you look back at you think that was kind of an insane thing to experience. But for me, it was really kind of good. I really liked it, actually.
With the nuns and the whole business?
Oh, yeah, all that stuff. And we went through all that stuff, whacking and getting in trouble. And,
oh, yeah?
Yeah. But I had a kid one time. I saw a kid, one of my buddies. You thought the priests and the nuns were tough. I saw this guy finally, my buddy Mike Weiss, who was, big, tall, tough kid who was kind of getting into trouble. Really, basically a good guy. He was like 12, 13 years old. And one day the nun hit him. And I guess he reached his limit. He got up and he punched her. And I went, holy fuck, they're throwing down. Him and a nun are throwing down. This is unbelievable. That really opened my eyes.
I wonder what happened to that kid.
He kind of went through a thing. There were a couple of kids in our school who got seriously trouble, did time and all that. But all of a sudden it sounds like a Jimmy Cagney movie. But,
Yeah, it kind of is.
But yeah, it kind of is. But my aunt, like I was saying, my dad was really respected her because she knew, you know, he said this is probably a matriarchy and I'm good with it because she was a really solid woman and he trusted her totally. And so I think he liked that there was that structure and thing, but he was Protestant, so I remember the thing of, you know, nobody's going to heaven except Catholics, and I'm, you know, when you're this big, you know, you think, well, hold on a minute, that means that guy who I've never seen do anything wrong,
my dad
ain't gonna make it. And that was great for me because I went, I think I tucked that away and went, okay, there's a hole.
Yeah,
right. There's a hole.
Yeah.
But I'll roll with everything else.
Yeah,
but that's clearly a hole, and that was great for the future because I never got bought into a lot of stuff after that.
Right.
I didn't buy out. I just didn't buy into a lot.
But did you have that concept of hell? I mean, in your mind?
Early on,
I
really? Went, oh yeah. You went, oh, that's harsh.
Yeah. Definitely want to avoid that if possible.
Yeah. And then of course you do everything that attracts you toward that.
Yeah, but right, of course. But then there's you just got to go to confession, right?
It was the greatest. Yeah. I once did. Here's another thing I don't think I ever told anybody. I once did credit, what I call credit confession, which was really ingenious because I was starting to get a little older, and me and some guys were going out, and you know we were starting to get in a little bit of trouble now, you know, here and there. And I thought, oh, this could be a good night, and you know there were going to be some pretty cute girls along. Mm-hmm. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? We're going to the drive-in. I thought, I'm going to confess now what I hope is going to happen.
And then adjust the story later?
Yeah, then just say, well, I got one coming.
Yeah.
And if I don't use it, I'll use it another time.
Did you do it?
Yeah, I confessed to the I started like laying in an account down.
Yeah. And the priest was like, wait.
And by the way, nothing happened. And I go, well, I got one. I'm good for one.
Did you, how many kids you got?
I only have one.
Did you raise him with any,
No, you know, and sometimes I really wish we would have. His mom, who's not alive anymore, was really great, tremendous, just tremendous woman, and we both gave him, you know, a sense of he's like a ridiculously good guy, and like sometimes you think, holy moly! I mean, I knew I was a good parent, but this kid is.
It worked out.
Yeah, and some of this is just him, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes I wish there would have been a base because I think you got to start from somewhere and then go, okay, you know, here's where I'm moving from.
Yeah.
And if you don't have any place to move from, I don't know what you do. But he stays pretty solid. You know, he's got, I don't know, you know, we talk about things like that, but I don't know where he is in terms of.
He keeps it to himself?
Yeah. He does a little bit. Yeah, we talk about it, but he keeps, you know, pretty much.
But, you know, it's nothing too dramatic. He's not a Hare Krishna or Jewish. You would know that.
Well, his girlfriend's Israeli, so, you know, he may convert someday.
Yeah. Wow.
You never know.
Well, they're not always the best Jews, but they're definitely Israeli.
Yeah, but Israelis will tell you that they are the best Jews. They'll they'll tell you that
we're not, like, guys like me, like, they're not real Jews. If they were real Jews, they'd be in the army with me.
Hey, man, I got to tell you though.
Yeah.
Well, we could go on and on about that. You know, there's a lot to be said. Maybe you have to be that tiny and that, you know, constantly surrounded by.
Yeah, vigilance certainly builds character on some level.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, they're remarkable. And you know, he by the way, he's got he's a songwriter and a musician, and he just this girl. With whom I was not familiar until recently. She's this girl on X Factor, Demi Lovato. Mm-hmm. She's got a CD coming out, and he wrote the single.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Songwriter.
Yeah, good songwriter.
That's a good racket, dude.
Dude, that's a real business.
Yeah, no shit, man. If that thing goes,
yeah.
I mean, you just that's kind of sit back and watch it come in money.
I love that. You just go, that's a good racket.
I'm like the guys who got in on songwriting early on. They knew what they were doing, man.
You aren't kidding.
I mean, it's money forever. If the song is fucking like, you know, like someone like Van Morrison or Bob Seger even just sort of sits back and once a year or 4 times a year he gets these checks and man, just from classic hit radio play, just because Night Moves, it's still on written. You know. It's a stroke of genius.
You're not kidding.
And like, even with like, I got to assume, like, you know, you still get residual checks from Batman, but those things kind of they trickle down.
They do. You know what's really fun though? You get one up from some You get one
from a TV show?
Like for $12. And for some reason, when you get one for like, I don't know, $127, it feels like real money. It's so exciting. You go, holy shit, here's $127. I never counted on. You know,
where'd it come from?
It's so weird. Where the larger number you might get, you go, yeah, well, I kind of thought that was. And I don't know why that is.
Here's the surprise dinner from that TV show I did 20 years ago.
Right. I actually get money. How about this? I think I got a check once for $7, something like literally like $7 or $11 or $14. I wrote 1.5 on this little Christmas movie I did. I wrote one of the tunes, 1.5 the tunes. Yeah. And so you have to join ASCAP.
Right.
And I got a check one day for like $11 or something.
Yeah, surprise! There you go. Yeah. So, but you know, if it was a huge hit, that'd be a bigger check.
Yeah.
If it became a Christmas carol that people are saying every year, can you imagine that?
Hey, can you know, you're right about those guys too. You'll meet some guy and, you know, you say, I got an island or something, you know, and you go, really? How'd you? He said, I wrote this tune years ago, and you go, holy shit!
Bought an island.
Yeah.
But when did the sort of bug to be a performer kind of get into your bones? I mean, was it when Catholic school?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah. I remember. It's funny. I was thinking of that today before I knew we were going to do this today. I was thinking about it. Not like I've never thought of it before, but it just hit me. I started trying to trace where it kind of really took hold, and when I didn't really start owning it till like later on. It's like, you know, I would assume what it's like. If, you know, you come out of the closet, you kind of mumble, I think I want to be a comedian, you know. It's like where I come from, you know, people would either smack you in the back of the head or, you know, laugh at you or something. Right. So you kind of hold that.
You're
down.
A bum.
Yeah. Or who do you think you are or something like that.
Oh, right. Well, what'd your dad do?
He was a surveyor and an engineer, kind of self-made guy.
Yeah. And he just, and he was like a contracted guy?
Yeah. And he had his own little business. He usually worked 2 jobs, and then he became a township commissioner, and then a county surveyor for the entire county. So he was a guy who, you know, as a kid, just kind of taught himself how to do these things. But I think it happened in school, because I don't know, you know, people I say, when you're the youngest of 7, you get a lot of attention. It might have been that, you know, you made people laugh and did impressions, and maybe that was it. But I remember a pivotal moment. I'd gotten into trouble, and one of the nuns said, okay, and she tried to. This was weird, you know. There was a lot of this weirdness, and by the way, it was still. I don't have that big kind of, you know, you made me crazy thing that Catholics get.
Right.
It was a day when we were supposed to be doing something, and I was goofing around, or me and my friends were doing something. And she said, all right, stand up. And it was weird, because this is so kind of sadistic. She said, well, I want you to sing to everybody. Sing this song. And when I think about it, it was so weird. It must have been, I'm going to embarrass you. I'm going to put you in a position.
This is punishment.
Yeah. You know, how sick is that? It'd be one thing to get whacked and go stand in the corner. Which
that is a little sick. Like to make you vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly.
And to have to sit in it.
Yeah. And somewhere, man, I figured that out. Yeah. And I stood there, and I was very shy, actually, and I used to get really red in the face, and I remember being beat red. And I remember the decision saying, okay, all right, you know what? Watch this fucker. And I went, and I just thought, no, commit to this motherfucker. Just stand there, because she thinks you're going to back down. Yeah. So I thought, and I was already embarrassed and scared. And I said, fuck this. Yeah. And I just started belting so off key and so bad.
Do you remember the song?
No, it was some silly little song. And she actually laughed, to her credit, and she kind of got it. She went, oh, okay.
That was the first big laugh.
Yeah. And then I went, okay, you know what? I'm not embarrassed. I'm kind of, you know, I can stand up in front of people.
Yeah. It's a weird way to learn.
Yeah.
Defying the nun.
I'm looking here on your shelf this little bit. I'm going across the Bible.
Yeah.
The Harvard Psychedelic Club, and then a pack of Nicorette.
Nicorette, yeah, I love it. I love Nicorette.
How long you quit?
Like 11 years.
Oh, man, that is a brutal addiction, nicotine.
Well, I'm still on it, but I'm not sucking hot smoke into my lungs.
Yeah.
I love these Nicorettes. I know I should get off it, but I think it's just a hands-on kind of anxiety treatment.
Yeah, but that's better than, like you say.
Oh, yeah. No, it's much better, I think. I don't even investigate the negative sides of Nicorette.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be some.
I don't think so. I have a feeling there's
Did you smoke?
Yeah, I was a smoker, and also I was a chewer.
Oh,
that's really brutal.
Where the hell did you start that in
I think
Pennsylvania?
I started, playing baseball. I think I thought it was cool, and then when I was a mad, and still am a bit, but I was a mad fisherman for a while, and it's so pleasant to just either dip or have chew in your mouth.
Yeah.
And that's a harsh addiction, man. That is like brutal.
Yeah.
You never really, like me and my friends say, you never really quit. You just avoid it for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And chew, so it's not one of those socially acceptable ones.
No.
Hey, I was doing this shit from Sweden, this snus stuff. So you know the snus?
I do. I know these Swedes, and they
stick it in their top of their mouth.
They do it all the time too.
Yeah, it's fucking great.
Really?
Dude, I didn't know it existed. And I went to this website, and it's a regular thing in Sweden, and there's hundreds of different kinds. And so I ordered some. I ordered a bunch of different kinds, the strongest kind, and that stuff. You stick it in, and the strong one, it's like you got to sit down. I'm like, this is terrific. And
you can pull it over.
Oh yeah. Sweaty, throw up.
Yeah. Cop looks under your lip.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's completely legal. I just had no idea it was going to kick my ass.
And the hit is right away, right? It's like boom.
It's pretty quick. Yeah, I don't think anything hits you as fast as smoking, but with chew too. You put it in, you got about a minute before you got to kind of wrangle it.
Yeah.
And get that queasiness.
Yeah.
So that was your thing, huh?
That was really hard to quit.
You were a baseball guy early on?
Yeah.
In school?
Yeah. Everything.
Were you good?
Yeah, it was good actually up until I couldn't. What happens? You reach a point where everybody gets bigger than you and stronger than you, and I was late to grow. I was kind of small. And
yeah.
I remember my eyesight went, and I didn't wear glasses for a while. I didn't know my eyesight was bad, and I couldn't see the ball anymore. And years later, I figured out what it was.
Were you in rural Pennsylvania?
Semi. It was actually, that what those states are like. You could be right in town, an urban area, but you could walk, 14 minutes and you'd be in the woods. So we were right in between these kind of mill and railroad towns.
Yeah.
And so you were in the country. So we were actually kind of country kids. And we had a black and white. We had one of the first black and white. In fact, the first house I lived in was tiny. Tiny. And I slept in a crib in my mom and dad's room for the first year or something. And then it was a little small house, but not all seven of us. I think 7 people, 5 kids or something.
Right.
And then we moved to this big farmhouse that my dad got from his family. It was run down. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was a dump though. We lived like hillbillies, but somehow we got this. In fact, my sister told me this recently, and I never knew this. She said for the first half a year or something, we didn't have inside plumbing or something. We literally had an outhouse. I didn't even know it when I first moved in. I was about 4 when I moved into that one, and then my dad fixed it up. We finally had a
plumbing
commode. But anyway, in that house, my dad somehow got a black and white television. He won it in a raffle or something like that, and my brothers would tell me that neighbors would come down and watch your TV.
Yeah.
Sitting on your TV.
They got one. I know where we're going. Bringing over pies and shit. Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you ever saw one in somebody else's house, you knew they took it.
Yeah. That's right. It was easy to track down the television.
So I think I would get obsessed with watching all old westerns, especially, and then as time went on, the funny I really got lost in some of the funny stuff. But a lot of the television comedy never really made me laugh until, I was like 14 when stuff like Get Smart started to come around.
Yeah.
Most stuff never really. I don't know about you. I'm always curious about this. I bet we're really you.
Yeah.
Who's really funny. Honestly, this is not a snobbery thing or anything. I'll bet if you ask most guys or people that you think are really funny, a lot of stuff I never really got. I never really thought, like Adam Costello were funny, Lauren Hardy were funny, but I never got the Stooges. The concept of the Stooges makes me laugh hysterically.
Yeah, slapstick's was not a big thing for me when I was a kid.
Yeah,
some kids get, and even the Marx Brothers, though that it all. It was
he was so witty though. He was so,
when I appreciated him later.
Yeah.
Right, but slapstick, because I used to, my grandfather loved it, but it was all before my time. But your namesake is Buster Keaton.
Yeah.
So you must have resonated with something.
Well, those guys physically were he was
amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
An athlete, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
an acrobat.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and Chaplin, I think. They were both sort of acrobatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they, that doesn't exist anymore, those kind of guys. Anybody physical, I mean,
There's a few guys that are great at physical comedy.
Yeah, but where do the guys ever do that anymore? There's no venue for it, really, is there?
Well, like Ben Stiller on a good day, if he's cast right, can do, like, in the Farrelly Brothers movie.
Yeah.
I think he's got pretty great physical timing.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Kevin James has got really
he does.
great physical timing.
Fat guys, man, they're funny. Isn't that funny how they move and they know?
They're just some dudes that, like, they can't help but be funny, even if they're just sitting there.
You're right.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You got to have it or you don't.
Yeah, I know. And so I don't know about you, but it started coming around with me later. I found I didn't when I'd see guys in a Western or movies. My movie knowledge really came later when we couldn't go to a movie. We'd go to a drive-in now and then. My brothers put me in the trunk and save $2 literally, and then would get out and then would go down. Occasionally, me and my buddies might go see a movie, but movies really kind of came around in my mid-teens or late teens, and then I was obsessed with watching film. I really fell in love with that, but I really only felt like I could step out and try something when kind of toward the end of high school, I was starting to feel, in grade school, I always had funny friends.
Right.
My friends were always funny.
Right.
The guys I was running with.
Yeah.
And in high school, the guys I was running with, that was the common denominator.
Yeah.
Like, they were all tougher than I was.
Yeah,
I mean, I might have been described as scrappy, but they were all tough guys. Like, and so, but the common denominator, my tight guys the guys I was tight with were funny and always made me laugh, or I made them laugh. And then I became obsessed with, like, the Lampoon or anything like Mad. There's things
National Lampoon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. In Mad Magazine, right? Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Mad I kind of got later because it never made me laugh either. But then when I look back on it, I thought, oh, this is so kind of weirdly cool in some kind of weird way.
It changed my life. Both those magazines.
Yeah.
It changed my life. National Lampoon was fucking
me too.
Mind blowing.
Me too. And that's what. And then I wonder. Then I would do nothing but write things, and I was still. I didn't hang out around with theater people, even though I took a theater class, and I didn't really connect to them at all. It wasn't like, but I would
no musicals.
No, but I love them actually now. I admire them. The really good ones. They kind of knocked me out. I don't know if you saw the Mormon thing.
I didn't see that yet,
dude. It's so fucking good. You cannot believe it on every level.
Those guys are geniuses.
Oh man, I'm telling you, they make me crazy. There's a thing, I don't want to ruin it for you, but there's a thing where a guy comes out and sings, and somehow he makes this line work. I've got maggots in my scrotum.
Yeah.
Do you know this?
No.
Dude, I couldn't get it out of my head, and I would be in the middle of a scene, I was working on a movie, and I'd hear that in the back of my head, and I'd just start laughing. People thought I was crazy. I couldn't stop hearing I got maggots in my scrotum.
Well, that's good. I'm sure they'll be happy to know that they made such an impact with that
they are so
important
good.
bit of information.
But then I then found a way to get on. There was actually a coffee house. It sounds so dated, but in Pittsburgh there was.
They're back.
Yeah, they kind of are, right?
Yeah.
And so I went in, and there was no. I don't think there was even a riser. There might have been a riser.
Yeah.
There's no mic.
Right.
I worked at a place in East L.A. one time. That had no mic.
Yeah.
And I had to get off stage. I remember going, I got to get off here because there's a bus that I got to catch, and it's the last one out of Hollywood that takes me up to a connection over into the valley, and then I got to get another connection to get to Van Nuys, like Reseda, where I was living, or something like Reseda Boulevard.
When he first got to L.A.?
Yeah. So I had to go, shit, I got to make this fast because I had to run down the street and get a bus.
Buses.
I took buses.
Wow. That is impressive.
Yeah.
So what was this? So this was like your first stand-up shot?
The first one was in Pittsburgh. I talked my way into them letting me up. And
in the coffee house.
Yeah, and it was actually relatively good. Then a buddy of mine said, hey, a guy named Huck DeVenzio, he said, hey, man, he was kind of into comedy, too. Yeah. And he said, there's a club. And where later I saw Richard Lewis. But it was a jazz club. It wasn't even a comedy club. And you know how horrible that can be. I've talked about this before. I'd follow this. So I said, hey, would you ever let a guy? And they go, yeah, whatever. Come on down.
Yeah, sure.
We care.
So we got to take a break.
Yeah. Just the worst audience in the world. But worse than that, jazz, you might find somebody who's relatively hip, but I would follow this Irish folk singer. This motherfucker would go on, those tunes, what they're like, they're endless. I mean,
yeah. And they're sad.
Yeah, they're like brutal, He'd be like on the fifth kid who
everyone dies. And,
and then Danny went down in the sea, and you go, fuck, and she had 11 kids. I go, God, he's going to go through the whole fucking family. And then it'd be like July, and he'd be in like a fucking fisherman's sweater, and he'd be singing, and I'd go, and I'd look at him, and he'd finish with one of these horrible tunes, and then I'd have to follow him, and it was just brutal. It's horrible.
But when you started doing it, I mean, what was who sort of like, what provoked you to do that?
The guys that I loved at that time were probably all the guys you loved and still love, which was Pryor, Carlin, Robert Klein, and the guy for me who was and a lot of guys. I mean, I'm a huge Bob and Ray fan.
Oh yeah.
But, I mean, those guys are just so
hilarious.
Fun.
Yeah.
So you look at all that. And I'm a fan of a whole lot going back and people now, but I guess who I was looking at was Richard Pryor and those guys, and then Steve Martin was really interesting because he really changed things. I mean, he became this kind of rock and roll comedian.
Yeah.
But for me, it was always Albert Brooks. Albert just killed me. There was nobody funnier, and I still think to this day.
I was just watching one of his stand-up bits the other day. With that, where he's like, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not going to do that. You think I'm going to take my pants off and then like this? And it was a Tonight Show thing. And it's interesting that he did it for such a short window, a small window. Someone just sent me. I just got a new copy of Comedy -1.
Oh, I had that. I owned that.
Did you do the script?
Yeah, I saw it. It was silly, but I had to do it.
It's Georgie Jessel. Yeah, I think I did it in college. But so you started doing it there, didn't you work in television? Didn't you like in local television?
Yeah, I had a job working for the PBS station in Pittsburgh. I dropped out of school a couple times, once to make money, and then I was going to school in college in Ohio.
For what?
Kind of, I think general speech. Which is where I took a first. Yeah, anything as vague as I could figure it out later.
Speech.
Yeah, speech.
That was before they had the communications major. I think that speech evolved into communications, a broader sort of.
Right. Yeah, I'm majoring in breathing.
Yeah.
So I was there, and I did. I took a theater class too, but not acting or anything. Didn't do any of that. And then I did actually get into a play, and no sparks went off. I kind of went, oh, that was okay. And I was not very good in it.
Yeah.
And then I dropped out to make some money and went back to school. Then I dropped out and never went back. And I was doing this play in Pittsburgh in the church that they would convert to a theater. But during the day, I'd work for PBS, which included you work on a crew. You do everything. You literally do, put things in a warehouse, and then you floor manage like really dull PBS news shows.
Right.
And then you work on documentary films. You do everything. And I worked for Mr. Rogers' crew, which was a wild-ass crew.
He was from Pittsburgh?
He was from Pittsburgh. That's where that started.
It was a wild crew? Mr. Rogers?
They were the greatest. These guys were the greatest. I mean, it just drip with, THC everywhere.
Oh, really?
They just smelled like they just walked out of Tom Petty's house.
So everyone was high, working with watching Mr. Rogers?
Well, during the shooting, I'm not sure those guys were. Some of them, Nick was, yeah. I mean, he was a floor manager. And he was so weirdly hip.
And this was the 70s?
Yeah, it must have been in the 70s. And he was such a nice guy, and so we kind of actually pretty funny in a weird kind of way. God, all these guys loved him. They were all funny and interesting guys. Everybody had hair down in the middle of their back, and
except for Rogers,
except for Fred.
Yeah. Fred Rogers seems like somebody a high person would invent.
Yeah.
Yes. Like. I can't imagine, so you had to deal with him, during breaks and things?
Well, that's what you thought, and you kept waiting for the other shoe to drop,
Like for him to be get these fucking kids!
Yeah, we kept waiting for the other tennis shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And it didn't, and you went, this is like it. This is truly he's really this guy. And then you get to know him, who is like the nicest, sweetest, most authentic dude, and a great sense of humor. I mean, you could mess with them and make you laugh. And,
right.
And we used to do some crazy things. So I was working there doing all kinds of things, not just on that show. You do everything. And then I started going and I was writing. And I was really obsessed with comedy and reading, and started writing things and ideas. And I
stand-up bits?
Yeah, kind of stand-up bits and just ideas and just things I thought. You know what it's like when you start. You just think things are funny. You're curious. You get obsessed with comedy. So I'd kind of go and work a couple of places in Pittsburgh, and then a friend of mine moved. But I still wanted to kind of act more than anything. And I thought, well, I'm just going to keep writing, which I should have done. I think everyone should do. I don't think you should ever quit doing that.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, maybe I can write. So I was ready to move to New York because I was going back and forth to work in New York. And also
stand-up clubs?
Stand-up clubs, but I was going to move there there were a couple of people I knew who had gone, who, I don't know how I met them, but they were trying to be an actor. So I was going to move to New York and do both, or just go throw myself into and I would kind of either drive my old Volkswagen up, or I forget how the other times I'd get up there.
Take a train, take a bus.
You sleep on a friend's floor, or
what clubs were you working, like Catch a Rising Star?
Well, this is what's interesting. Yeah, we were talking about this the other day, and man, so much comes back. When you start talking about this, you forget all these things. But I worked the old, which is still the most, to me, in terms of, like romance, this kind of romantic notion of a kid starting the original Improv, which I had seen pictures of.
44th Street.
Yeah.
Yep.
Had you ever worked there?
Yeah, towards the end.
Wasn't it great?
Yeah.
Aren't you glad you got to be in there in that room? Because there was something about that room.
Oh, yeah.
That there was no other room like it.
And one of the letters was broken.
Yeah.
And I had Bud in here a few weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, laying down the real history of that place.
And it was intimidating, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, he wasn't there. By the time I got there, it was his wife, and he had moved out here.
Yeah.
And it was still it was a heavy history. Those pictures, the sort of Browning pictures of Pryor and Liza Minnelli and people that I knew as like older comics. I'm like, that guy was here. I didn't even know he did this.
Yeah,
kind of shit.
And then there were singers, where you'd get, and it was really so. To me, I felt intimidated, thinking, oh man, these people are. Everybody's better than I am. Also, they've been doing that New York tough thing, and Bud had a real attitude, and then I worked at Catch Rising Star.
Rick Newman.
Yeah.
So he's a whole different ball of wax.
But,
hey, how are you?
Yeah. But also like kind of an intimidating thing.
Yeah.
Where were you born?
New Jersey.
Oh, so you're like a guy you kind of know that neighborhood a little bit.
Well, I grew up in New Mexico, but I've always kept in touch. I lived in New York for years, and I chased the history of that thing.
Yeah. So to me, I always thought, I'm in way over my head. And I'm standing. Remember, you used to line up on the street to sign in at Catch.
And then they draw the names out of the
names, and then you go back. And, it's just horrible. So the first guy I meet is Larry David.
Yeah.
And we're standing next to each other, and he just seemed so much like older and knowledgeable and grumpy, and I thought, no guy he's a little bit older than I am, but he's not that much older than I am, but he seemed just like he knew so much, and he used to always wear that old army green fatigue jacket, and I thought this fucking guy was just funny, even on the street. He wasn't doing bits or anything. He was just, I just thought this guy's like somebody, he's so not from my world, and he and I were the only two asked back that night, and we hung and talked for a minute, and then we both showed up like the next night or something, got a spot, and it went kind of well, and he was funny. And I remember he used to, I think, I couldn't believe anybody would ever do this, and I was so knocked out by it, and I could never, when he, people wouldn't laugh, you've seen him, people wouldn't laugh, and then he just ridicules you for not laughing, like you're stupid if you're not laughing. It was so, his balls are so huge.
And you saw that the first time you met him.
Yes, I thought, are you kidding me? Me, I'd crawl up in a ball and go, oh, geez, I got to really work on this, He'd just say, what the fuck are you thinking?
Did it change your mind about how to do stuff?
No, I still thought, oh, man, that guy, that's never going to work,
And I don't think he thought it did either for a long time.
I don't think he gave a shit. That's what's so impressive.
Maybe.
That's what knocked me out. Well, if he did, I didn't know it, and I thought, wow, that's huge.
You have to sort of manufacture some pretending to not give a shit.
Yeah, that's probably
eat you alive, But I mean, that's certainly taking it to the. Well, you were just doing observational stuff, some characters, or
I don't know. Yeah, I was never like, I never know how to do jokes, and every once in a while I'd have a real good structured joke, and I think guys who structure jokes, I think they're great. That's they're craftsmen.
Yeah.
I think that's, that's really something.
So what made you go for LA over New York?
Well, here's what happened. I was going to go live there, and a friend of mine, really witty, funny guy, would write occasional things on older guy, would write some things on at PBS, and he kind of had at this station. He kind of had a show, and he was always funny. And he met someone who invited him to go out to California, and he got this writing gig, and he became a staff writer on some of those Norman Lear shows. And we were communicating. I had sold him some jokes on it for something.
Yeah.
$25 a joke or something. And he said, hey, you know what? You ought to come to L.A. I remember this expression. He said, it's wide open out here. And I just moved and slept on the floor, lived with a couple guys I knew from high school for a little bit, and then moved into a place, and, we had a bunch
What year is that?
Mid-70s, I guess.
Yeah. Wide open.
It was wide open. That was the expression.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, I'll see what this is like, but ultimately I'll go back there. And then I took Second City workshops, and I was working, parking cars and
here?
working in bars. Yeah, they had this company that moved out here and was working in Pasadena, of all places. I probably leaned more toward SCTV than SNL when I was in. I don't know about you. I liked SNL a lot, but SCTV always kind of did something for me that the other ones didn't.
Well, it had this weird context to it. Like it was all contained. It wasn't like a showcase. It wasn't a presentation. It wasn't, here's the next bit.
Yeah.
Here's your musical act. It had a conceit.
Yeah.
That kind of contained it all.
But didn't you find it really that great smart thing without being smart? Like, look at how smart I am. Just really, I don't know, those guys, they
were so good, such great comedy actors and so versatile. After the first season of SNL, which was when I was a little kid, I liked a few of the seasons, but then it sort of drifted away.
Yeah.
And SCTV was this thing like that, it didn't last.
Yeah.
Which always makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
That's all we have of that. That was it.
Yeah.
And they were also, and Canadians are like, they have less ego for some reason.
Oh, totally.
It's a very weird thing as comedic performers. They I don't know if that's a generalization, but they don't exude the it's all about me thing as much.
No, and they're I've talked about this. I'm sure you've talked about this. When you come out of Canada and you're funny, you're usually really funny.
It's not funny beyond like
crazy funny. Yeah. You're either kind of not funny or just really, really, really funny.
Yeah.
And Midwest, there's that Midwest thing, too, that I love, like Bob and Ray and Newhart. And then you see the thing the thing I remember about Letterman all the time. I was watching him being honored the other night. I caught the end of the show, and it was really knocked me out,
I gotta watch that at the Kennedy Center.
Yeah, you look at it and you go, fuck, this is huge, man, and it's so great. And then you go, he's from Indiana.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of dig. Like, I like where people are from and what their frame of reference is,
Yeah.
And when I see those kind of guys, and you go, there's something about also this Midwest thing that's kind of like, I don't know what, can you explain it? Where that Midwestern kind of.
Well, you listen, all my context is sort of like there's a kind of like stick-to-itness, and there's a sort of politeness to it.
Yeah.
That no matter how dark it gets, there's a sort of politeness to it.
Which makes it all even more interesting.
It makes it
darker in a way.
So now my big thing with you was that, like, I was a doorman at the Comedy Store very early, when I was younger, for about a year before I got all fucked up. Mm-hmm. And your name was on the wall there, and I was like, when I was there, I was like, Michael Keaton was here. How long was he here for? What was that? You that place is such a mythic, dark place to me.
Yeah.
And it has a very, weird place in my heart and mind.
Uh-huh.
What was your experience there?
Well, mostly good. I was just going to ask you what yours was. Because
I was a doorman, and, I had to deal with Mitzi, and I had to, jump through the hoops, and, and I got, tied up with Kennison, and I got fucked up on drugs at 22, and I left for a year.
I think you were guys who came right after me. Here's how I did it, and then I'd be really curious about you, because it's brutal, and then it can become an unhealthy place. The whole world of that can be, and I always used to say I never wanted to catch the disease, so I never really
of comedy,
the disease of all that crazy neurosis and the unhappiness and the miserable stuff, shit. That
you didn't want to be infected with comedy in that way.
I really didn't. I thought
you saw it as malignant,
so unfun.
Yeah, to be that guy.
Yeah, I'd like to be at least a little bit happy while I'm doing comedy.
You knew that right away. You're like, these guys are all miserable. Aren't we supposed to be having some fun here?
Exactly. I really thought, shouldn't this be a little fun? I'm not sure this is really worth it. And I was very, I would go and I'd time it so I could kind of pull in, park, get up, and time it so I wasn't hanging too long. And then if I was, I'd go out and pace in the back and just kind of stay focused and stay locked in.
Yeah. Who were hanging around then, though?
Letterman and I, and that's where I got to be friends with him out here. And who else? Jay Leno already was like on this other level. He the first time I saw him in New York, I went, Jesus, this guy is, he's a young guy, and he already it was so much more sophisticated in stand up. How he did.
You saw him at the Improv.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then who else was coming? Robin came like the year after I got here, so he was kind of part of that. And there was this guy, I don't know if you remember Thomerson, but Thomerson was
Tim Thomerson.
Yeah. Who's a really good dude.
That one bit.
And that one bit. But you know what? I never saw anybody like him, and I got to be friends with him because I really like him. He's really a nice, good guy, and I never, my frame of reference for comics were, Jewish, Catholic, black, urban, tough, cutting.
Yeah.
I never saw a California guy.
Yeah.
And he was really good looking.
Yeah.
And a fucking danger.
Yeah.
That was what was hip about him, I thought.
Yeah.
He was dangerous.
Yeah.
That motherfucker looked like he'd come out and just kick your ass,
Yeah,
But also you go to a bar and get drunk with him, too.
Crazy white guy.
But with a sense of humor, who was good looking and surfed.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Yeah.
I never saw that shit before.
Yeah.
And then we got to be kind of pals because he really liked what I did. And I was working someplace, I think San Diego there, and it was going well. And but there were very few people in the room, and he was fucking howling. And then he came and grabbed me, and we started bullshit. And then I ran into him skiing one time.
Yeah.
But there were those kind of guys, and then there was a whole group that came around. But that's how I did it. I knew I had to be really focused on what I did, or else, and I wanted to make the most of it. And I worked a few times, and it was okay. And then I was sitting in my crummy little apartment out in North Hollywood, and I thought,
Did you have a car yet?
Oh, yeah, I had a car. By the time I had a car, I wasn't hitchhiking down.
Yeah.
I had a 63 yellow Volkswagen. And I would go, and I thought, I got really frustrated, and I went in the writing binge, and I just said, I just pumped everybody in amount of energy I could, and I went down and said, I'm coming back up on stage. I hadn't been on for a while, and it was, it's kind of going.
Mitzi liked you?
Yeah, she did, but she was doing, and she's a nice woman, but she was, and then I just hit it one night. I just fucking killed it. And that was it. Next, she said, come back tomorrow. And then you know what it's like. You build up that time. It's so long to build up any chunk of time.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, man, you guys who do that, people don't know. I don't, I'm probably, anyone who's listening is already interested, so they have a knowledge, they have knowledge of. But for people who don't, I was on a movie once, or a television show or something, and we were sitting around, and there was an actor, nice enough guy, and we're talking, and he said, "Oh, did you do?" I said, "Yeah, I did a little stand up for a while." And he said it like this. He said, "I never did that," and I thought, I didn't say anything, but he said it like, I never went to college, or I never parked cars, or I never, and I thought, wow, this guy doesn't get what he's talking. Like I could have done it, because people don't know how hard it is, and then how hard it is to be good.
Yeah,
there's nothing quite like it.
Yeah, and now it's become even like there's like everyone says that now. Like now you meet people. It's like, yeah, I'm a comic. What do you mean? What does that mean?
What does that mean? Right?
You did it once, or what do you do free shows? You got 10 minutes. Who are you? How are you a fucking comic?
Right.
And guys who sort of like live by the code of it. Who know what it's like.
Yeah.
It's almost offensive. It's like
it is offensive.
Yeah, but does that mean you can work anywhere and do it any time? Drop of a hat? Can you entertain that 5 people?
Yeah.
Like professionally?
Yeah.
Then stop saying you're a comic if you can.
Yeah. And then do you just punch them in the throat?
Yeah. Give me who deemed you this?
Yeah.
You can't just decide it.
Well, it's hard.
It's hard, and there's like in a lot of that code is sort of going away. There's like it just seems like everybody's trying it. Everybody's trying improv. People who work at offices like, I'm going to do it. It's going to help me with my life.
Yeah.
It's like, this isn't fucking self-help. This is an important job.
That's right.
We're out here on the front line.
Yeah.
Of culture and relevance.
Was it brutal trying to get time and putting time together and then get the right times?
When I started, it was just like, want to be a headliner, and when I came out here, I didn't know what I was getting into, and I got into the store, and, I got fucked up on drugs with him, and, I just wanted to do comedy, and then I went to Boston and started to build out there, and then started doing road gigs out of Boston, then moved to New York, then San Francisco.
Yeah.
Back here. But it was all, the process.
Yeah.
It's only within the last few years that I genuinely feel comfortable with who I am up there and in here and in life.
Really? Wow.
So like it's sort of a weird turn of events.
And that's when you get really good, isn't it?
Yeah, because you don't give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that the greatest? It's the fucking greatest.
Yeah, it's like what's the worst has already happened.
Yeah.
You know,
what are you going to do to me?
Yeah, I mean, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
You know, what am I going to bomb? Oh, well.
Yeah, right.
You know, and that doesn't usually happen.
No.
You know?
You know, it's funny when you said I went to Boston, there was always that thing where guys, they still do this, we go, yeah, he's a Boston comic. Or
yeah, sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that guy, he's an Ames, Iowa comic. You know?
And there's more of that now.
Really?
Because there's a scene everywhere, because there's a whole new generation of young people that are doing comedy, and organic scenes have sort of built up around coffee shops and sort of alternative venues. Like the comedy club system doesn't have a stronghold on people's ability to do comedy anymore.
Huh.
So you don't have to go to the club and wait till you get the 6-minute spot or wait around on open mics. You can just build a show at a place with some friends who are comics too, and just make your own thing. So like now it's sort of like, there's an AIM scene. Yeah, there's like a few guys. It's true. Like you know,
there's a Kuala Lumpur.
Absolutely. We got a little thing going here at this place, and like you guys. And then if you're traveling, like, do you want to come by our thing at the place? And I'm like, I don't know. Is it? And sometimes they're good. Now, okay, I'll come by.
Yeah.
And that's all right. Yeah.
Do you think there are people in certain parts of the world that are funnier than other parts of the world?
I don't know. Like, I don't know that I would be able to process, the best Chinese comic.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I'd be laughing for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of subjective.
It's such a weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like really weird.
Well, you watch, like, Persian comics. There's very broad gesture. Like, you could see how it's comedy.
Yeah.
But it all is relatively cultural in terms of how one sees it. But stand-up is American in its design. It's like jazz or anything else that came out of here. So, and people take that template. And
I was watching, I forget what it was. There was a show and it was some horrific thing happened. This is a couple years ago, and they wanted to talk about it with holy men, right? So they had priest, a Protestant minister, maybe someone from an Eastern religion, I think, possibly a rabbi.
Yeah.
And blah, blah, like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And we just the priest was, charming, actually.
Yeah.
You could tell he probably had a sense of humor. The other guy, the fucking rabbi was fucking killer.
Yeah.
And I thought, sorry, Jews are funny. They just fucking are. This guy was legitimately funny. He wasn't even trying to be funny. Mm-hmm. He was just funny.
Yeah, well, I think that comes from this sort of weird kind of active dialogue. That in Judaism, there's this constant sort of, debating about things. There's sort of a more kind of, like it's like, what did God mean by this?
Yeah.
Catholics, it's very clear.
Yeah.
It's all pretty laid out. God meant this. But, rabbis are like, well, maybe we should look at this a different way. Maybe this means it. And it's a constant discussion that I think led to that.
Was Andy Kaufman around when you were working?
No.
There's a man.
I had Zammuda in here though for 3 hours once.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, man, I'll tell you, he was. There's a guy who you go, that was art, because nobody did. Like when I saw Albert, I went, oh man, I never saw that before.
Yeah.
And I finally got to know Albert, and I went to talk my way into. He was working in Brooks, at the University of Pittsburgh, and he just used to kill me. And then when I saw Andy Kaufman work, I went, oh man, that to have that kind of imagination and say I'm gonna bend this
commitment.
Whole thing and commitment, is just really fun to watch.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's like it makes you think like there's so many where I can go anywhere with this. That was the amazing thing about comedy. It's like you can stand up there and do whatever you want. The idea is you should get laughs, but really no one's going to bother you for the first few times.
Yeah, right. So nobody's going to bother you.
Yeah,
right.
So you do what you got to do to figure out what it is you do up there. And take advantage of it. I mean, that was one of the appealing things to me. It's like, all I knew was I wanted to say things. Yeah. And I thought I was funny and I had things to say. Yeah. And that was the only thing. The only real rule is you're supposed to make people laugh, but even that is negotiable. Yeah. Depending on how fucking interesting you are. Yeah. Yeah. Well, when did the acting thing start? How did that break?
Well, that was first, really. That was kind of what I was doing. I'd do a play, but I just always loved funny, and funny. Yeah. My buddies were funny, or being funny, or writing funny, or thinking funny, or seeing a funny thing. But I thought, well, I'm going to try and be an actor, like kind of mumbling under your breath, and
but that's what you were here for.
Yeah, but I was focused. I was really, basically, when I was going to go to New York, I thought, well, I'm going to I'd done a little crummy, stupid little review for $25 a show in Pittsburgh. And I was like the funny guy in the song and dance thing with these, like, in the little dinner theater thing, where you're they're literally from the guy's feet are like right there in front of you, and you hear things like, you might be in the middle of some girl singing, and you come out and like stand behind her and do a funny thing. Yeah. But underneath it, you hear things like, I didn't have Thousand Island. He brought me Thousand Island. Yeah. It's not what I meant, Joyce. It's not what I meant. No, I didn't say that. That's not how you started. Well, I'm leaving. Oh, shit. You're hearing all that. Hi, everybody. We're here tonight. Hey, a lot of shows on Broadway start with the word hey. Hey, everybody.
So you did what? So you did some TV?
Yeah, then I came out and I got a gig because what happened was Robert Klein saw me work. And simultaneously, I had a friend who had written on Blazing Saddles, a really nice guy named Norman Steinberg, and a very generous dude. And, he said, come on down and meet me, and said, we'll talk. And I had a nice meeting in his office. Nothing happened. He said, he was nice to talk to some young guy who came out here. And so we did that, and then he kind of remembered me and said, hey, there's this part of a bailiff. You got one line. Do you want to come down and read for it? I went, sure. So I came down and I kind of got that one little line on some show he was doing. I forget what he was doing, some sitcom. Yeah. And simultaneously, Klein saw me work. Yeah. He was auditioning for this little variety show he was going to do, and I got hired. Yeah. And so we did that, and then another guy I knew said, "Hey, come on down and audition. I don't think you're going to get it, but audition for this Norman Lear show." And I auditioned for it and got it. And then midway through doing the show, they made it a two-parter. Yeah. And then they invited me back to do another show. And then they wrote me a deal saying they held me for like a year. And then everything dried up for like a year and a half, like nothing happened.
It didn't go anywhere, but you were locked in.
Yeah, I was locked in, so I couldn't do it. So I was going to the club. It was great for me.
Just doing stand-up.
Then I was really into it. Then I thought, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to go work every night.
And it feels good, man. Get your chops, learn, getting the laughs, So you got some money. And they
got a little bit of money.
And then you were like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I can wait on this.
Yeah, exactly. And then no jobs came, the money dried up, and then I started doing...
But you were fucking funny.
Yeah, and I was getting good. I was getting good. I was really working on it, and I was focused on it, and I was really loving it. And then, it's like you get to... Pain, it's good for comedy.
I don't know what it is, man.
Are you a believer, when people say, well, it's all based on pain, isn't it? I mean, I guess it is, if you want to be technical about it, but
I don't, after talking to hundreds of people, and having that romantic idea about, the struggle and the pain and everything else, I don't know if it's all about that. It's an innate need to sort of get, sum things up and get a reaction. Certainly, I don't know. I've met fairly well-adjused, funny people. Yeah, and that kind of shatters.
And I think more so now, don't you? I mean,
the guys that come out of sketch. Yeah, they're team players. We're all like, it's a group effort, and we all work together, and it's fun. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I know.
Because comics are like, we're loners. We're in our apartment crying and and writing and sweeping on the floor.
Well, I worked with Hater. I did this.
He's hilarious.
Oh, that dude is unbelievable.
And a sweetheart.
And the nicest guy.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, because I did this movie that Larry David is doing this movie that's an improvised movie. Uh-huh. And Hader and I are kind of partners in this thing. It's crazy what he can do, voice-wise. We were talking about that, and I said, man, people are so nice now. It's so refreshing, he said, this cast is like ridiculously nice. And I remember hanging around in those worlds, and it was kind of brutal, very competitive and insecure. And,
I just don't think that once you get to a certain level, it seems, with show business, unfortunately, and I think that back in the day, they were more forgiving, in that, there's only 5 guys that are really good at this, and if one of them's an asshole and can't control himself, we're just going to have to manage that. And, get him out of his trailer when necessary. Yeah. But I just think now it's like, people don't tolerate that shit anymore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and everybody's very diplomatic, and nobody's going to say shitty things about people. You don't want to be the negative guy.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to be around it. It's like, even if you're talented, they're like, oh God.
Right, it's true.
How much of this shit do we got to do? Is this really worth it?
Exactly.
Another funny guy that we can use that isn't going to, shit on everything?
Yeah, and there probably is, actually, somewhere.
It's a problem, right?
Yeah.
But when did the first film come? I mean, when, like...
I was doing a show, television series. I had 2 series that did not get picked up, and it was like somebody lifted a house off my chest. I was so happy. And, you know, that sounds crazy and ungrateful, but I just couldn't do it. I thought, oh man, I see where this is going, and this is going to unfunny land. And I'm going to be that guy in that stupid show, and you know, I got to do it every week.
You felt it.
Yeah, and it smelled like death, and I thought, oh, I got to, and when they said, yeah, I got some bad news, and I'm going, yeah. And they go, where do you get picked up? I'm telling you, man, I could have flown. I was so happy.
What, the jokes were bad, and you just said...
You know, and actually a couple of them were kind of funny, but
Yeah.
I thought, oh man, this is, you know, I could see that they were kind of asking me to pull back, and, you know, maybe you wouldn't, you know what I mean? They didn't want you to really go out there.
Yeah.
And so, and at the time I was really irreverent, you know, and so what happened was I was doing this show with Lowell Gans directing, who was a great writer, great comedy writer, started on the Tony Randall Show. I'll tell you something about that, too. I did the Tony Randall Show for 2 episodes. He had a sitcom. He had a few, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, he had Odd Couple.
Yeah.
But some more.
Yeah.
This was a really well-written, really funny show. Really kind of smart, you know, out of the MTM people. And I got this audition to play this guy.
Yeah.
And I had a real clear take on it. You know, I always worked out of a kind of, I didn't know how to do it. I still don't know how to do it any other way. So, you know, what's the character? And then I attack it that way. So,
Yeah.
So I created this guy, and it was good. And then they said, let's make this a 2-parter. And I watched Tony Randall work, who ran a set like it was like business.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what, and I was kind of, you know, loose, and I'd improvise a little bit. Even though I didn't have to improvise much, this script was really funny. The jokes were good and solid, but my timing was offbeat, you know, because the guy was dense, or I played him really, really dense. So
Right.
the timing got, you know, you had to adjust for it. You know?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's that rhythm, and then you had to kind of, mine was just a beat off, you know.
Right.
And so he watched, and he was all about structure, and it works like this, and it works like this. He was so methodical and meticulous.
Yeah.
That I've learned from everybody. Honestly, I'm not being Pollyannish about this. I really learned from almost everybody I work with. But he was so not from my world.
Yeah.
And I learned so much watching him. Like watching Duvall. When I work with Duvall, I sit there and I watch what he does. But Tony Randall was so structured and so like prompt and so disciplined about where the timing was, where the beat was, how it was staged, how it was blocked. And that was really great education, because even though I admired those kind of guys, I wasn't that guy. I was more, let's freewheel it.
Wing it, man.
Yeah, right. And which is great and awesome, but this was really interesting.
So it taught you something.
Yeah, it taught me a lot.
Like it was that weird lesson where you're sort of like, when you're on a set and you're like, oh, there's a pattern, a system here. You can structure this.
Yeah, right.
It's weird when you realize, like, this kind of is a business.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Yeah.
And if I keep winging it and they keep doing takes, I'm not going to be in this business.
Yeah. Which is weird, because, you know, I'm sure you like to, you know, stuff is going to come to you when it comes to you. You're smart.
I have not had a lot of opportunity in that area, you know.
But even when you know, if you go do a show, like a talk show, you know, you notice how you have to go, and I've seen you do it, where you say, I know I got to get that, you know,
out, I
got to get that out, and I got to do it right, and it can't look. It's an enormous amount of work.
Yeah, you do. I do it with Conan. You know, I built a relationship with him over the years,
which is great, because now he knows you to sit back and go, no, I can trust this guy. I know what he's going to do.
Right, exactly. And then usually, like, if it gets weird, I'm happy about it. Like, you know, I provide a service for him.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I can take a couple of hits from him. Like, you know, because he's weirdly polite and always self-effacing, but occasionally I'll get out there and he'll be like, "What?" Yeah, and then okay, this is going a different place. And, and it's fun. It's fun. There's more guys are doing it that way. Where, like, you know, Kimmel did it that way and Fallon did that way. Where you used to be like, you know, you produced the shit out of a segment. Yeah, like, what are the stories? Where are we going? All right, that's a good one. That's no good. Whatever. Yeah. But like when I did Fallon. We hadn't talked to a segment producer. Really? Yeah, and I'm like, it's like half hour before the show, and I'm like, are we going to go over the things on my stories and my bits? And he's like, no, Jimmy just wants to talk to you. I'm like, but that's unheard of. Wow. Be just talk on a talk show. Wow. Did you dig it? Yeah, it was great. Yeah. Yeah, because it was like, this is fucking real. Yeah. You know? Might not work, might work. Right, and Conan still prepares a lot, but lately, you know, we get way off. You know? And I think at the last one I did, I'm like, I guess I'm not going to talk about the boat. You know, without any context whatsoever.
Right.
But people who watch, they don't know that shit.
No.
No matter how smart people are. This is the interesting thing. When the writer's strike happened, I thought, well, finally America's going to realize that their favorite comedic actors are really just puppets for a writing staff.
Yeah, right.
They didn't fucking realize.
No.
They still don't know.
Yeah.
They still believe, like, that guy's writing all that.
Yeah, right.
That Bill Maher makes up everything the morning of. You know?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I guess that's part of the great illusion of it all. But let's get to the fucking movie star shit.
So then I'm doing this thing, this television show. And
if you don't mind.
No, and the guy goes, hey, man, he went to Ron Howard and said, I'm working with this guy. He's really funny, and I know you have that movie. You ought to see him. So this is night shift, so I went over to, and I had already started, I think I shot a little short that I wanted to put together, because I was already thinking, I want to direct these things, or I'm going to write my own stuff. And I got very lazy about that, to be honest with you. Now, not so much. But anyway, so I go down and I audition for this movie, and it goes well, and they say, okay, you got to come back. And I think there were a ton of auditions. I forget how many. I went through 6 or something like that.
For Night Shift?
Yeah, it kept coming back, and then they were trying to
brutal,
figure it
right?
out. It was brutal, and it was really nerve-wracking. And then it happened, and I got it, and then that spawned a couple other things. And they wanted me to do Splash after that, and which was, I never saw all of it. I'm sure it was very good. And the reason I didn't do it was I wanted to lay down something like, I guess the way people used to put albums together or something.
Right.
I wanted to lay down something that I said, no, I want to move over in this direction. I did Mr. Mom, and I said, because
that was huge.
Yeah, it was huge. And, that's funny because he was really something, man. He was really, really funny. I read that thing, and I'm sitting in my house out in the valley, and I read, and got to one point, and I went, I laughed out loud, and I saw it. And then he hit another one. I went, oh man. And I said, this thing might really work. I got to go meet this guy. So instead of doing Splash, where I thought I'm going to be kind of in the same kind of world, I don't want to do that. I want to move over to this world.
The same kind of world as Night Shift?
Yeah.
Like sort of broad comedy?
Yeah. I wanted to move over and then say, at least I'll lay down something where I got a little bit of room here. I can go here or here or here. And then I moved, and I did something totally different after that.
So your fear was to be typecast as a wacky leading man?
Yes. Or the glib young boy. Yeah, exactly. And that was exactly what would have happened. And it's still, it's so, because then, you can do well and make a lot of dough, but you're kind of fucked.
You're in that same situation that you were afraid of with that sitcom, which is like, these are your choices.
Yeah.
They're going to pay you real well to repeat that thing you do.
Yes.
Come on, clown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it can be I should be so lucky, right? I mean, it had nothing to do with me not being grateful or excited. I thought I want to go, I'm going to go for the whole thing here, and hopefully it works,
But Beetlejuice was like fucking, like Mr. Mom was huge. I mean, people still talk about it.
Yeah.
If you bring it up.
It became part of the nomenclature, actually.
Yeah.
That word, he's a Mr. Mom.
Right. And then Beetlejuice was just fucking out of left field. Like, I mean, that, like when you got it, how'd you meet Tim Burton, and what was that thing like? I mean, 'cause he was out there, right?
Yeah. How it happened was Geffen came and said, I want you to meet this guy. Tim Burton.
You were already huge. If Geffen's coming and asking you to meet Tim Burton, you were like a major property.
Yeah, probably. I guess so. Yeah. And he goes, I go, okay. And because Tim had done this thing called Frankenweenie that people really took notice of, and they said this guy's got something. He's a comer, and and then he created something else. I forget. He did Pee-wee. So I meet him. And I didn't really understand what he was talking about. I didn't understand what the concept. He was trying to explain a character he had thought of, and he had this script that a guy gave him, but he said, and he couldn't really describe the guy. And so it was a fine meeting, and I told David and somebody else said, I don't know how to do this, and I don't know what it is. He was a really nice guy, but I really don't know how to do it. And they said, no, just hang in there. And he talked me into meeting him again, or somebody did. So I said, okay. I went and met him again. Still didn't get it. Not that he was. I just when I don't get what it was so not what it. Well, it is. I'm sure it ended up in what Tim had in his head basically. But originally, the guy he described, he had a little sketch that he was kind of like some of his Coal Boy sketches or something. He had a conceit of the thing, but it wasn't even a guy. It was like a concept of something. And So after two meetings or 3 meetings or something, I said, I really like this guy. He's really imaginative, but I don't know. And then he said something in the one meeting that took hold. And it was something like, he probably lives in all time. He's from no time. He's from every time. He's lived in all time periods or something. And I don't know why that stuck with me. Yeah. But I thought, maybe I should think about this. So I said to him, okay, you know what? Let me at least go home and think about it. We were in a Mexican restaurant down on Lincoln Boulevard down Santa Monica. So I had this idea, and I called the wardrobe department, I think at, I forget what studio, and I said, hey, would you do me a favor? Could I get like clothes from every time period, all kind of different things, and I got a rack of them, and I brought them to the house, and he said, he gave me another hint of he lives in he must have said something that made me get this idea of mold, I said, so I'm home by myself, and I'm thinking about this, and I start to do this walk and this voice, and I thought, you know what? I'd like to have teeth. Like, you can't tell, but the teeth were not only fucked up, they were just tiny bit larger. I wanted to put these things in, they were just a tiny, because there was something about him being like goofy. Yeah. That made it even more dangerous. If you run into some guy who's nuts and then he's kind of like goofy too, that's like really scary, So I wanted him to be kind of scary and dangerous but funny, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to just pull everything out here. I'm just going to commit. Like, what I like about Marty Short is you could actually look at Marty sometime and go, he's so not old fashioned. He's like an old time big kind of show, but it so works. His silliness so works.
Yeah, he's a one-man show. He's like, it's like...
it's so great.
Like he's commitment to the history of show business.
Yeah.
Every time he opens his mouth.
Yeah. So I thought, well, I'm going to go full out. So I was walking around my house, and I said, I'm going to create a walk and a thing. And I was looking at these different pieces, and I put that little thing that I thought it was really kind of... that hat that said guide on it. I thought, ooh, this is kind of out there. Guide to what?
So that was all you.
That was, and then I talked to him and I said, I want hair. I said, this guy, I said, I'm gonna start here. Yeah. Did you ever see that thing Mel Brooks used to do where he says, it was really a funny bit he used to ever say, ladies and gentlemen, he's a singer, and he says, dancing in the dark. But he starts so high, he's got nowhere to go. He goes, dancing in the dark, and then because the song goes up, and he used to sing and go, oh fuck, I started too high. Yeah, right. I can't go up higher than that. So I said, I'm going to go up at that level, and I'm going up higher, and I'm never coming off of it. And I don't know if it's going to work or not, because Tim and I kind of discussed it, and then I said he should be like every day, he gets up and sticks his hand in a socket and just goes, poof, and he just works. So I said, let's make hair that sticks out here. Yeah. And then this great V. Neal, this great makeup artist, and I started putting together mold. I said, I want mold down my neck. We had never done it. I'd never done it till the first day. I didn't know if it was going to work. Yeah. And then I showed up on the set, and this is really interesting. The crew saw me, and I have no idea why, because they didn't know what I was going to do, and I wasn't even sure what I was going to do. It was going to work. Right. And they started going, juice, 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 juice. It was this really funny thing, and I just fully committed. I said, this is going to die, or this is going to work. And Tim's so great, because when he saw it, he went, yes. He says, that. He said, let's do that, and let's do that. I mean, he had some general, obviously, ideas about it, but the whole conceit, or the look, and then when I walked on, I saw the set in the world. I went, and then he had explained to me, he said, okay, your head's going to shrink, and then it's going to spin around. And I said, okay, now I get what this guy's doing. Yeah. I get it. I mean, I started to really get it, but then I went, oh man, this is out there. Yeah. And then it was just huge.
It fucking rocked.
It rocked it, man. It was so fun. And there was nothing ever been that's like it. There's just nothing comparable, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about what he did.
No, and just to deal with a guy at that kind of creativity, that he's his own thing. Yeah. And that was really sort of the beginning of it. Yeah. And that sort of blossomed into whatever he becomes, Right. He's a visionary.
He totally is. Yeah. Totally is.
But so that thing killed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then he comes, says, hey, a little bit of time goes, and he says, I want to talk to you about something. And he goes, and this was gutsy on his part. He said, I'm doing Batman. And he goes, would you read the script? He said, I don't want to talk about it too much, but just read it, and then I want to talk to you after. So I'm reading it, and I go, and even I thought, I know a concept of what Batman, because I wasn't familiar with the
The TV show?
Yeah, I was familiar with the TV show, but I didn't know the whole comic, the pulpy part of it. And
the nerd world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's what he did. He said, but read this one, which was the Frank Miller thing.
Yeah.
And which was...
Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. And I went, whoa, this is interesting. The look of it and the colors and the thing. So I went and read it, and I went, well, this ain't going to work. But because I read it, and I said, yeah, well, let's go have coffee. So we're sitting there talking, and I go, you want me to just talk to you? And I think this is going to be over 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. He's going to go, well, I don't know about that. And everything I said, his head was nodding like this.
And what was it?
He's ridiculously depressed.
Yeah.
He's a vigilante.
Yeah.
He's got this issue, so obvious, and that's what, but I thought, yeah, that's interesting if you're thinking of it as an actor, but nobody's going to make that.
Yeah, right.
And then he goes, yeah, that's what I want to do. It's exactly what I want to do. And I thought, oh, really? And I go, whoa, dude. And then I said, okay, well, whatever, let me know.
Yeah.
And then that started happening, and we started doing that, and he just had such a clear take on that really changed everything. If you look at the colors of those kind of big movies.
Yeah. It was like an opera.
Like an opera.
Yeah. And so your decision to build the character out from that pain, and then sort of manifest it with you're naturally sort of.
But
intense,
what
right?
you'll get, I'm not. This is the truth. I've seen bits of the guy who's doing them now, Chris Nolan.
I just watched it, and
he's so talented.
Yeah,
it's crazy, and he's the actor's so talented. I'm sure that
Christian Bale.
Yeah, and if you look at all that stuff, you go, it's so good. But I say that like I've seen them, and I actually haven't, because I didn't even see much of the second one I did. But you look at where he went, which is exactly what I wanted to do when I was having meetings about the third one. I said, you want to see how this guy started?
Yeah.
We got a chance here to fix whatever we kind of maybe went off. This could be brilliant. Didn't want to do it, so I didn't want to do it. So,
Tim didn't?
No, Tim was out. This was a new director.
Oh, Schumacher.
Yeah, and I could see that was going south. So
he didn't want to commit to the character you had built. Well, I think honestly, and I'm saying this really, you were the best Batman.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, because there was some part of your natural balance. There was no comedy to it, but there's an instinct that you have.
You got it. That's what I was going to say to you. I was going to say, you'll get this, because when I saw a little bit on the plane the other day, and it's really good.
But, the new one.
Yeah. But it's not that I wanted to be funny. I just thought, it's not interesting if the guy is just really this thing all the time. It's like there's no place to go. Like, as an example, and Tim was so good about it, I said, there's that scene where I have her over for dinner, and I'm thinking, I remember Tim saying, this guy's got a lot on his plate. And I went, oh, yeah. So I started working for that. I thought, wow, what's it like when you have a lot on your plate and you happen to be this guy and you saw your parents killed?
Yeah.
So that scene where I invite her over to the dinner, and I said, hey, you know what we ought to do here? I'm going to sit here, and she should sit all the way so we can see how lonely this fucking thing is.
It's like Citizen Kane, when the table keeps growing.
Yeah.
The different shows.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Right.
Yeah.
So I said, there's a line, and I said, hey, how about if I say this? And he was great. He said, that's a great idea. She said, this is a great room, or whatever she says. And I go, yeah. And I look around, and I go, I don't think I've ever been in this room before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you laughing right there.
Right. Yeah.
And that made all the other shit even better, even darker. It goes, ooh, that guy's kind of off. I mean, he's off. Or the whole hanging thing, was not in it. And I said, he had to hang like a bat. He can't go to sleep till he hangs.
Right.
Yeah,
because he's in it too. Yeah. He's got to be in the character that he's playing.
Totally.
Because he's playing the character.
Totally.
Well, that was fucking genius. Now, so so now, after that second Batman, you'd already done like some other ones, like Pacific Heights. You're playing all these different roles. You can do a romantic comedy. You can do a killer. You can do a hard guy. You can do an action hero. You did exactly what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
You didn't pigeonhole yourself.
Right.
And you had a fairly, big run.
Yeah.
With all this stuff. But what do you have any regrets about not doing the third Batman?
There was only one time where I wanted to. I occasionally will, buy a piece of real estate and maybe sell it or something like that.
Yeah.
And there was this opportunity that came up, and I went, oh man, I'd like to do that. and I didn't have the bread. And I thought that I thought about this. That's about the only time where I went, probably, that would have been nice. I wouldn't even thought about that, you know. But honestly, besides that,
Batman would have bought me that property.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, honestly, it never really changed. My lifestyle's been the same as it would have been. There's not really nothing. I mean, you know, barring. I mean, I can imagine some things, but no, I thought, and you know, now people love the, you know, actors and people like you guys all go, that was like the smartest thing you could have ever done as it got out when the getting was good. But the bread would have been good. But, but no, I never, that was definitely time to get on out of there. But that said, what the little I've seen of those three that he's done are really, really, really good. So then, you know, then I think it got to me, I went through a period of, you know, doing kind of good stuff. I mean, I like what's going on now, but for a long time, you know how that thing where you're on stage and you, even though you go, yeah, this is a good bit, good piece, I'm doing it really well. Yeah. Still, there gets to be that point, I mean, at least it did with me, where you go, you're hearing your voice. Yeah. And it sounds inauthentic to you.
That's the worst.
That's the worst.
Were you kind of beside yourself?
Yes. And I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I literally used to have that experience where I'd be literally outside myself and I'd get scared for a minute because it was kind of psychotic. Yeah. And I'd go, whoa, we got to get back in.
Yeah. You can't leave that guy there.
Yeah. Come back and get me.
He's disappointing you, but you need him.
Boy, am I relieved to hear you say that.
Oh, it's the worst. I've talked about it before, where there was one time where I was bombing so bad that I literally left my body. I was like, I'm going to watch it from backstage. I'll meet you back there. I can't do this with you.
It's crazy, isn't it?
But it's a real feeling. Where you're literally outside of yourself, and you hear yourself talking. You're like, oh my fucking God! Yeah, shut that guy up. Yeah, well, he doesn't know what else to do right now. Yeah,
man, that is horrible.
So if you feel that with a movie,
you started doing. I thought, oh boy, this is, you know, and then I said, you know, I'm going to go for really, really good stuff, and then sometimes really good stuff will come around. But then when it didn't, I thought, well, okay, then maybe I'll try that, and then it wouldn't be so good. And I was right. The intentions were right. Let's go for stuff that, you know, there's no reason why I shouldn't be getting really, really the best written scripts and stuff. Yeah. But I may have set myself up where I went, well, because the truth is, I don't think anyone knew what to do. You know, that sounds kind of arrogant.
Well, but you were being stubborn, so your people didn't know, like
yeah, and I think people didn't know what to do with me. That sounds kind of like, oh, I'm an artist. But honestly, I think in fairness to everyone, they kind of went, well, I'm not sure. He just like, people were saying, don't do Pacific Heights.
Yeah. That was a pretty compelling bit of business. I mean, that was the weird killer stalker guy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and also it was John Schlesinger, a major filmmaker.
He's great, man.
He's great.
I mean, he did Marathon Man and like Falcon and the Snowman later. He's good. British guy, right?
Midnight Cowboy.
Midnight Cowboy, right.
I mean, you want to be in business with that guy. So
it was. I thought it was frightening.
It is. It's a really.
But was it one of those things where it's like that's Batman and the funny man, and now he's all what have they done to him?
Yeah. So
do you think that fucked you?
I don't know. You know, I think it got a little confusing for a long time, and then you go, okay, I got to go out and find something. But I didn't want to start doing stuff that I kind of felt like I already did before, and I have this not particularly good trait where I figure, you know, it's like inviting yourself to a party or something. I always felt like, man, if I'm in a movie every like 6 years, people are going to be bored out of their minds. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but I just think, you know, people are going to get really bored of this fucking guy, that look, that face, that thing, you know. Yeah. You know, but, you know, I'm way overly sensitive about it. But, so I think for a while I kind of did that. Now I'm kind of re-interested, and also
re-engaging. Keaton's back.
No, I don't know about that, but I mean, I like it a lot. Like doing this thing with Larry was fun, and I did this thing called Penthouse North, which is another bad guy, and then I'm doing this thing, RoboCop, with the guy, probably intellectually the smartest director I ever worked with. This guy Jose Padilla. Yeah. Did you ever see Elite Squad? It's a Brazilian movie. Dude, check it out. Yeah. It's something.
And you were great in the other guys. That was hilarious.
Oh, man, that's so much fun.
That must have been a blast.
Yeah, that's a business to me with those guys.
I mean, those guys, like, you know, like with Farrell, I mean, that must have been...
Is there anybody funnier than him?
I don't think so.
Honestly, God.
I just don't think
just pure funny.
I just, like, I'll go watch shitty movies that he's in just to know that I will get... one I know I will laugh.
100%.
Like, even if, like, and I don't mean to say shitty, but, you know, you see coming attractions, you're like, I don't know. But Farrell's in it. If I can get 45 seconds of him at his best, I'll pay the fucking cover.
Me too. And I don't know another guy like that.
I don't either.
He's and just a really nice guy and a really good, solid dude. And when you, there's something about his world and Adam McKay and all those guys where it's that great thing where you're looking at the movie and you think to yourself, well, this is really ridiculously silly and out there. And why is this so smart at the same time? Because it's got a smart thing that other guys are making movies somehow don't have. Yep. Somehow he's got it. And you look at what he's doing. You can be in a scene. I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day. When I was in that movie with him, you can be you'll be in the scene and you'll go, yeah, I'm getting this. This is good. I really found that. Found that, and the scene's rolling, and you're right there, and you go, and you can think and you may be just fucking killing it. Yeah. And you turn your head and you look at him, and you go, this motherfucker's just going to hit this thing so far out of the park, and you actually
There's nothing I can do about it.
There's nothing I can do about it, and it's so great to watch, right in front of you.
I always find that too, like when you're talking about Bill Hader, like I don't always know, what I do, or like obviously I'm not in the same league as people who've done the movies and stuff, but like I do live shows sometimes where they're just panel shows where I do a live version of this, but it's just so guys can be funny. Yeah. And I had Hader and Armisen and people out, but I had Hader out there once. And I'm sitting right next to him, and I'm watching him just tell this story. He's getting huge laughs, but there's that weird moment where it's like, that's just that guy.
Yeah.
He's just talking from that face.
Yeah.
And look what it's doing.
Yeah.
It's like baffling when you're just right there. Yeah. And they're just people, and they're just so much bigger than life when you see it.
Well, that's nice that you're generous like that, because you know how it can get, especially funny. It's weird, like, I don't know, it gets weird. But like we were saying, not so much anymore. Everybody's so better and more healthy, I think. I don't know if it comes from other parents or what it was, but it's nice that you can sit there and watch them and just dig it.
Yeah, it took a long time. You got to battle a certain amount of jealousy. Yeah. But there's certain things where you got to be like, well, this guy is just fucking hilarious. Yeah. And what am I going to, interrupt him so I can, try to get something out that I know is not going to... why not just, be the straight guy?
Totally, man.
There's no harm in being the straight guy.
No, it's fun to be, because when you're on board with him, you're on the same ship. You just go let's get on, do it. You're helping him and he's helping you.
You're sort of amplifying his timing.
100%.
Oh, it's fucking sweet. So, but you've done it's like, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so glad you're doing all this great work. So the new RoboCop, who are you in that?
It's I didn't really see all of the other.
It doesn't sound like you watch.
I don't watch.
You don't watch your own movies. You catch bits and pieces. What do you walk by the den where your kids watching television? Like, I was in that. How am I doing? I gotta go.
How am I doing? I did this 17 years ago. How am I doing? You're all right. No, I don't. I don't really like to watch. But I was asked to do this, and from a business point of view, you need to like Gary Oldman's in it, and we were talking. You need to pop up. Stick your head up and say, I'm around, and those ones that are, international, that they're going to play in Tokyo.
Yeah, right.
You got to be around that world. So I'm being 100% honest. You want to do it for that reason alone, even if it was kind of
international hit,
stupid.
Yeah.
It happens that if this works, this is going to be really interesting to watch, because his take on it is so kind of interesting and timely. So what I play is this. I wasn't familiar with the first one until I kind of caught a little bit of it.
The first one's kind of a satire.
Yeah. Right. Which was kind of cool, I thought. This is less so by a bunch, but there was the Omnicorp. I think that was the title of the old company. So I play the guy who creates the Omnicorp, and for me, and actually for Jose. I created he said, let's talk about it. Do you think he's Steve Jobs? I said, that's what I was thinking. But then I like
an evil Steve Jobs?
Well, he's actually, that's what's interesting about it. So for me, I kind of created this guy that I thought, I like to think about who those really big thinkers are out there, Ted Turner and Jobs and Richard Branson, guys who, this guy who created Tesla, I like the people who go, I'm thinking all the way out there. I've got no boundaries. Yeah. And so I figure he's a guy who's got several companies, and he's constantly mind clicking, think about what to do next. So I met these professors, these MIT professors who were robotics and bionics specialists. That's we could do a show on that sometime. So what he is he's the guy who owns it and says, I can literally eliminate crime. not, I mean, eliminate it. And
those are the best kind of bad guys. The ones who are with the great moral purpose.
Yeah. But, and that's what we play. Like this guy says, no, we're not going to play that that mustache twisting thing. Because my argument is as good as anyone's. Because my argument in this movie is really, really strong. Which is, well, did you see the thing, I don't know if it was on 60 Minutes or maybe I read about it in no, it was some television show where they profiled this guy who operates drones. We're removed from that, which is really interesting, and that's what kind of this deals with is, because that's what's going on.
Faceless
that's what's
evil
headed.
In a way.
Yeah. But also, what robotics do now. I mean, there are drones that monitor a lot now. Don't just. And hey, man, I was a.
This is being televised, despite my every intention I didn't want it to be. Right. I don't know where the camera is.
How are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Someone's watching us.
Yeah.
These guys are no threat. So you going fishing soon?
I am not. I'm going back to work, and then I'm gonna lay down and sleep. I get this other thing I'm doing in March, and then I directed this little movie, and now I think I'm gonna maybe direct another.
Great. That's a new thing?
Yeah, I really like that. I really, really like that.
That's fucking great that you're getting into it.
Yeah.
Are they they're scripts that you bought, or how's it work?
No, I got one that just kind of evolved. I was supposed to act in it, and the director fell out, and the project was sitting right there with Kelly MacDonald, and I said, hey, is that thing around? And they said, yeah, and I said, let me go look at that again. And I said, hey, what do you think about me directing it? And then that came together. Very small little movie. And then this next one, right now, it's if it, how it works. If all the funding comes together and it ever happens, it'll happen with Nick Nolte, who's just great.
Great.
Good dude.
When did you work with Duvall?
I worked with him, I've gotten to be friends with him. I did this little movie in Scotland, not a very good movie, but he really wanted to do it. He always wanted. He loves soccer, and so he called and said, "Would you play this role?" I didn't really know him that well at the time, and I got to know him there. And then he was in the paper, which is actually a good little movie, that Ron Howard movie. Okay. And that's the first time I met him.
And what was because he's like, you talk about working with Tony Randall, and like in my mind, Duvall is like this transcendent actor. What was his process? What did you learn from him?
His discipline is so extraordinary.
Is it?
And he sits on the set. He was notorious. People used to be really afraid of him, and he does have kind of an intimidating. But I think the fucking guy was like 64 or something, and he punched some director. He was but I didn't find that he's good. It's just that he's so specific. He doesn't particularly like to be directed because he says I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, and you got to trust me. And so he's got this presence, and he's so locked into what he's doing. So I'd watch him. I'd sit there and watch how it work, and he'd just stay on the set, and when they're setting it up and they're lighting it, he'd just kind of like run his lines to himself and wander around and stay kind of there and stay kind of present. Yeah. And then kind of start to lock into and then by the time you're starting to roll, he's kind of right there and locked into it. And if you pay attention, unless you don't have a pulse, you're going to learn something.
Yeah. Well, I'm so fucking thrilled that you did this.
Man, I'm so sorry it took me so long.
Oh no, it's all right. It's and it happened the way it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Now, okay, now.
Well, you're so great at this. Honestly, it's so easy.
Oh, good. Well, I appreciate you doing it. It was a great talk, man.
Thanks, dude.
Yep. Oh my God, that happened. Very exciting. What a great guy, and it was great to talk about his comedy years and just get the whole overview. Just what a great fucking guy. What an honest, ballsy dude that guy is, and I'm glad we were able to have that. And thank you for listening. Go to WTFpod.com for all your WTF pod needs. Kick in a few shekels, get the app, get some merch, get some justcoffee.coop. Pow! Look out! I just shit my pants. You can, pick up, see the tour dates there. You can do whatever you got to do on WTFpod.com there. And, those pre-sales, as I mentioned at the beginning, they're happening.